Yo, what's good? It's your boy Theslykrow checking in back with y'all. Hope you had a dope holiday season, whether it be with friends or family, or kicking back with them games that have been dropping this year. Now I know I've been on a long hiatus, but your boy has been busy studying for the certification. Hoping to book this exam soon. And on top of that, man, I had to keep up with all this epic hotness of games that have been dropping lately, especially the second half of the year, man. This was just one hell of a year when it comes to the output of the stellar quality games. Ever since Tears of the Kingdom dropped, as well as Baldur's Gate, and that Baldur's Gate addiction is real, man, especially in Act 1. It's just been a crazy year. And so actually I wanted to make a video specifically on the Switch, as they also had just a phenomenal year in 2023. When you take it back in early January, they had a Fire Emblem mainline series game. They had a sequel to the long-awaited Breath of the Wild in Tears of the Kingdom. We had Octopath Traveler 2. I know this is a multi-plat, but Octopath 1 was originally on the Switch. We had Metroid Prime Remastered, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Mario RPG Remake. It's pretty cool to see the nostalgia dribbled in at the tail end of the year with the two Mario games. So let's go ahead and start with possibly the biggest drop of the year, Tears of the Kingdom. And once again, man, the team at Monolith Soft as well as the team at Nintendo, they've done just a phenomenal job when it comes to taking the most out of the Switch hardware. When you're up high in the sky and gliding through the skies of Hyrule, you would think that this is running on a PS4 level of hardware with the sheer level of draw distance that you see. And I remember back when they did show this off on the Nintendo Direct, they did reveal about the fuse mechanic and all these other abilities. And when you do it in actual practice in the game, it's definitely a sight to behold, man. Like the ascend ability, and as well as the rewind ability allows for easy traversal when you're going from point A to point B in Hyrule. And I do dig how they have the Sky Island set up. Some of the areas they do have those gliding mini games that were pretty cool. And honestly, like all of the shrines, they did make use of all the abilities that you get, which is pretty dope. And the ingenuity and the creativity of these teams, like it's just second to none when it comes to this Breath of the Wild sequel. And they actually perfected this formula of the open world Zelda. And I'm pretty sure that for the next Zelda game, they're gonna step away from the open world aspect. So I'm excited to see the traditional Zeldas come back. But this was definitely one of the hits of this year. It definitely stands on its own next to the other contenders of the game of the year, such as Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3. My other personal highlight of this year has got to be Metroid Prime Remastered. I'm glad that they did bring this back from the GameCube. And for fans who haven't really touched the GameCube version, this is definitely a great insight into that nostalgic sci-fi world that you get to explore. And this, bits of this game, it does remind me of the Alien universe as well as the Halo classic games. And when you do those puzzles and fight these epic bosses, it's definitely a dope experience, and it's a dope time. And for me personally, I haven't really touched the GameCube version, so coming into Metroid Prime Remastered is pretty dope to experience for me for the first time. And this 3D Samus adventure of the Metroid Prime FPS style game is a pretty cool feeling to experience. And I'm definitely excited for Metroid Prime 4 now, and I do hope that launches in the same year as the Switch 2 launches next year. Now I wanted to go into my next point, which is the fact that Nintendo does an amazing job of keeping its legacy IPs alive, whether it be a rehash and a remake of the old IP game, or a brand new game, a mainline game in the series. And they do such a good job of that. And what I've noticed from this library, of the Switch library, is that it's very similar to the 3DS success of its huge library of games during its lifespan. So I wanted to go back into memory lane for a bit and let's take a look at what the 3DS had to offer at the time. So in 2012 we had Fire Emblem Awakening as well as Dragon Quest Monsters. And you know, the Dragon Quest series, the Dragon Quest Monsters series were pretty big on the DS era. So I believe we only had a couple of games in the 3DS era. But you know, we see this franchise still being revived with a recent entry in Dragon Quest Monsters and Dark Prince. And it's pretty cool to see that this series is still doing pretty well right now. In 2013 we had Zelda, A Link Between Worlds. You know, we didn't have this remake unfortunately, but we did have a Link's Awakening game. And so this is actually a sequel to A Link to the Past with Link's Awakening. We had Luigi's Mansion in 2013, and on the Switch we had the Luigi's Mansion remake. In 2013 we also had Shin Megami Tensei 4, and on the Switch we see this IP still being used with Shin Megami Tensei 5, and this was definitely one of my favorite games of that year. And so other titles in 2013 we have Bravely Default, and we know that Bravely Default 2 got a sequel on the Switch. We also had an Advance Wars entry, and on the Switch we had the Advance Wars Reboot remake, which is pretty cool to see. And now in 2016 on the 3DS there was a 3D Metroid Prime game. The Switch had that Switch Metroid Prime Remastered. In 2016 we had the Detective Pikachu, and on the Switch we have a new entry into Detective Pikachu. And in 2017 there was a 2D Metroid Prime game on the 3DS. And we also get to see a 2D mainline entry into Metroid Prime with Metroid Prime Dread on the Switch. So the point I'm trying to make here is that, you know, Nintendo does a good job of reviving their older IPs, especially on the 3DS era, which was, you know, widely adopted, you know, both in North America as well as in the West. And I think it's especially important the fact that Nintendo is willing to invest into these older franchises. Even if some of them may not sell that well, they're still willing to invest and keep these IPs alive. Like we had Dragon Quest Monsters come out recently, as well as Detective Pikachu. Even though these are kind of like mid-niche franchises, they're still willing to invest and continue these IPs. And we see now in the AAA space, you know, especially on the Sony side, that, you know, I feel like they are getting creatively bankrupt with some of their mainline games. You know, we see the budgets total up to $200 million to $300 million per game, which is pretty ridiculous. And this makes me wonder, you know, is Sony doing this on purpose? The fact that they're not reviving some of their classic franchises from the PS3 generation. Are they doing this because of the budget reasons? You know, and Nintendo doesn't have this problem. You know, they have a good strategy in place right now. The fact that they are keeping its budgets relatively small per game while still producing great quality games and experiences. You know, and when it comes to Nintendo games, it's all about fun and creativity. And you know, I'm really curious to see how they make this strategy work in the future when they do bring out the Switch 2. Appreciate you guys tuning in for this video. This is your boy Theslykrow signing off. And y'all are the real MVPs for making it this far. Catch you on the next one. Peace.